Very interesting, informative, at the same time entertaining film in kind of a tragic way, or a very tragic way. Uh, Jeffrey Robinson's Who We Are, a Chronicle of Racism in America. Now, if you remember, was it 15 or 20 years ago, Al Gore made a movie, The Inconvenient Truth. If you kind of recall that film, and some like there's a mix of a live presentation in front of a live audience, not live when you're actually watching the movie, but taped live, and some cutaways. This was kind of like that. This movie, Jeffrey Robinson's movie, the gentleman did his research, that's for sure. I wasn't sure how old Jeffrey was. I'm guessing somewhere 65, maybe 70. The movie, the core of it, it seems like the live presentation, if I got this right, was taped on June 19th, 2018. But he's got some cutaway footage of him doing research, talking to all types of people that have experienced the tragedies of racism, uh, systematic racism, police brutality, and also people kind of defending the Southern Civil War flag, trying to talk to that guy at the beginning of the movie. So, pretty heavy topics or topic. He goes into a whole lot of different stuff. So it's pretty crammed, full of information. So it's not the type of movie that you can go and it's not a popcorn movie. It's not a movie you go and, it's a movie that make you think, stimulate your brain. And I think he's to be commended here for a great film. I mean, this is something that's definitely Oscar worthy for best feature length documentary, I'd have to say, if it does come down to that. Um, and he really examines a lot of things. The national anthem, for instance. I mean, we've heard kind of, if you dig around YouTube and if you dig around the internet, sometimes you find yourself, or at least I do, in some of these, revelatory articles, insights about our history of our country, the United States of America. And some of it, a lot of it's not very pleasant or very positive, you know. But this film, Jeffrey's documentary here, Who We Are, A Chronicle of Racism in America, Jeffrey Robinson, he really lets the facts speak for themselves. Sometimes a guy like, and I do like Michael Moore films quite a bit, but Michael Moore goes into his documentaries with an agenda, looking to prove a point. Some would say that it's not really documentary filmmaking. I think Jeffrey does a nice job of kind of letting the facts speak for themselves, as far as, Woodrow Wilson uh, condoning the film A Birth of a Nation. One of the things that's always kind of pissed me off, I guess you can say, or upset me, is that the film industry, the very, film industry that we all hold so sacred, or at least I do, that seems to come under attack for a lot of reasons. But yet everybody watches movies and everybody watches TV. Everybody wants to criticize Hollywood and so on and so forth. But yet people still watch television, don't they? And they still go to the movies, don't they? And they still Netflix and chill. Yet they want to criticize Hollywood. But one blight on the Hollywood institution or filmmaking in the United States is that The Birth of a Nation, D.W. Griffith's kind of love story to the KKK, it was like really the first big box office feature length movie in our country. And that's pretty shameful, to be honest with you. That it really is. And it's something that's bothered me for a long time, that of all the potential filmmakers at that time, and I'm sure that it wasn't a whole lot of people who could make films back then with the resources you need, but of all the possible stories that could have been told, to have that distinction of being the first American feature-length big box office film, it had to be a fucking movie putting over the KKK as these heroes of the South. Really pretty shameful that that's the case, but that is the case. And we get a few clips of that film. We get, like I said, some insights into the national anthem, some insights to slavery, some insights into around the time of Martin Luther King's assassination, um, and so on and so forth, all the way to our modern era. So, I might be painting I don't want to say, I don't know if I'm portraying this film as being a bleak thing or anything like that. I mean, it definitely makes you stimulate the old brain to see a type of movie like this where people are actually thinking and having discourse, and there's research into this topic by the filmmaker Jeffery Robinson and his associates, and he puts a very nice personal touch on to it too. He shows us his family, he shows us his friends from childhood that he's still in touch with. So overall, I think it's a winning effort, and some of the hype and hyperbole for this documentary and the trailers and so forth are saying things like, this is a must watch, this should be required viewing for all high school kids and so forth. And maybe it should, I think you could do worse than putting the kid in front of this movie for a couple of hours and making him or her watch it. So I like the movie. I think I always respect a movie that's, that the work has been put into it. And that's definitely the case here. If this is often I'll say that you got to go out to the movie theater to really get the full grasp of a film. I said that last night with Moonfall and other films that I always make a big deal that you have to go to the theater. This particular movie, though, because of the documentary aspect of it, and also because of just the relevance of it, I don't think, and maybe the heaviness of it, I don't think you necessarily have to go to the theater to get the full impact of Jeffrey Robinson's Who We Are, the discourse film here. I think you can stay at home and watch it, whether you get it some type of streaming service, Netflix, HBO, however it comes to your fingertips by the time you see this review. I do feel like the movie could be equally as valuable in the privacy of your own home. And for me, a couple of times watching this movie, not a whole lot, but maybe 2 or 3 times, I wish I had a rewind button because the information was so thick and heavy that I might have missed something. And so, a couple of times, but there's no reruns. There's no rewind button in the movie theater. You know what I mean? So I could not do that and get the full grasp and depth of whatever I missed. Wasn't many times that happened, but a few. Let's see. Well filmed movie. I mean, with the documentary, you don't necessarily think about things like cinematography so much, but the cinematography was good. The stage presentation was good. Did not know that New York City has such a slave history that Jeffrey explores. Did not know that there was a slave market museum, I believe in South Carolina, if I have that right. I could probably go to that if I wanted to. But the slave market museum, very powerful footage. And the tour museum at the slave market museum, very informed museum guide telling Jeffrey about all these atrocities, how the slave market worked. These poor people were prepped for being sold. Just horrible, god awful, things that perhaps we don't want to talk about. We don't want to think about. We want to put our blinders on. We want to say, well, that's not us, blah, blah, blah. And Jeffrey, kind of takes on that topic too. What is the accountability of the current person? White privilege. He gets into that a little bit at the end. So, I mean, this thing is chock full of nuts. I mean, this is a powerful movie. Looks like we have some comments here. It's very exciting. Hey, Carl, what's going on there, buddy? How are you, Carl? I'm pretty good, Carl. I can't complain. I've had an interesting year. It's only January, whatever the fuck. It's February 4th or 5th at this point. I've recently moved, Carl. Still in Jacksonville, but I moved to a different section of town. And still me, still, believe it or not, I moved a month ago, but I'm still kind of unpacking. There's reasons for that. Still settling in, as they say. And there's only so many hours in the day, but I'm doing the best I can. Yeah, man, I understand that, buddy. It's very cold in Chi-Town where Carl's at. Chi-Town Rumble 89, Steamboat Flair. Very cold in Chicago. Sweet home, Chicago. Very cold there in Chicago, Carl, I'm sure. And I hope I don't get the copyright from the whoever sings Sweet Home Chicago doesn't get the revenue from this live stream. But yeah, I'm sure, buddy. You know, my friends in New England are all bracing for another storm. You know, I try to tell people that you know, you got to get out of these cold environments. It's not good for your health. But people are going to do what they want to do. You know what I mean? I can't control the world. I can only control myself. So in any event, I appreciate you watching. Would I say go see this movie? Yes, I would. Would I say it should be required viewing? I mean, you know, we get right back to our whole thing about could it be part of an academic uh, lesson? Of course. Required viewing, I mean, that's Gestapo tactics, perhaps, but I do feel this is an important movie to see. And I would say that the younger person is, you're not too young to see this movie. There are some, you know, the photograph of Emmett Till and some of the disturbing footage. Eric Gardner video footage. They talk to Eric. He talks to Eric Gardner's mom. Very sad. I mean, I could feel for that Eric Gardner guy as a big guy myself. So I feel for him and his family, and you know, many video clips of these atrocities happening, and so on and so forth. So I would just say, Jeffrey Robinson, I commend you. I say congratulations, bravo. And hopefully, and I'm sure that his film can only do good for those that see it. Now, here's the thing: you can't just preach to the choir. Maybe that's why the movie should be required viewing, because the people that need to see this movie are probably the people that are going to avoid it. You know what I mean? But I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was really good. And kudos to Jeffrey Robinson. So for myself, Carl Kate, you can see the Carl Kate playlist and subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel and so on and so forth. So have yourselves a merry good night and have a good weekend.